Morning, this is Jim Moore, and you are watching Justice for America, and it is December 27th, 2022. This is program number 28. Want to announce this morning that, well, first of all, I want to say I hope you had a great Christmas. We did here with our part of our family in Texas, and in uncharacteristically cold weather. Got down to about 11 degrees, and I know there's a lot of people all over the country that are dealing with some pretty serious weather issues we're going to talk about in just a minute. But first of all, I wanted to say thank you for tuning in and just give a big announcement that we are starting a second YouTube channel that will be called Justice for America. Actually, it's 5 words, Jim Moore, Justice for America. And the reason I tagged my name onto it was not because I'm in love with my name, but if you put in just Justice for America, you won't find it for some reason. I'm not sure how that works, all the algorithms and so on. But if you put in Jim Moore, Justice for America on YouTube, then you will be able to subscribe and hit the bell for announcements and so on and so on. So this program, Justice for America, will not be downloaded to YouTube on Jim Moore Words of Encouragement. Again, we have 2 channels now, Jim Moore Words of Encouragement and Jim Moore Justice for America, 2 YouTube channels. We still only have 1 Rumble channel, and this program will also continue to be downloaded to Rumble. But again, big announcement, 2 or 1 additional YouTube channel, 5 words. You have to put in all 5 words or you won't find it. Jim Moore, Justice for America, and it should come. And I'm going to encourage everybody who is on Facebook here who watches this to do that. It will help get the word out, and it'll help get the algorithms out and so on, and there'll be more about that later. We'll probably send out some links just to kind of remind people and so on. Maybe I'll put one in the thread today. All right. So we're doing this to just kind of open up things. We want to be responsible to get the words out that we feel like the Lord is saying. So this morning, again, we're 2 days after Christmas. It was a wild Christmas for some people. And I want to start out, we've got a number of links today. I want to start out with the weather. It's our first link, and you can look at that. But then I'm going to go into just a little bit. Now, we don't not talk about the Bible on this channel. We don't shy away from talking about the gospel. Although this is basically an informational program, but I am a 40-plus year believer in Jesus. I and my lovely bride, Linda. And so that's going to come out, and no apologies about that. So I'm going to mention something here in a minute about that, but I want you to pray for the people around the nation that have gone through this, all these terrible, terrible weather conditions over the last week. So I want you to wrap your mind around the fact that for some people, this Christmas was horribly difficult because someone they loved died over the winter holiday or the Christmas holiday. So I'm not going to give a whole bunch of stats, but just to remind you, it's important that we maintain our humanity in the midst of crisis. We live in a culture today where we are so inundated with information and news things that happen. It's really easy to get callous and almost to kind of see things that are happening like another TV show or a reality show or a movie that we watch. We do get desensitized, and sometimes I just ask the Lord for help about this because I don't want to become, 50 people died over the weekend. Whoa, what a bummer. And then just move on to the next thing. We need to feel for people like the Lord feels for them and so on. And so there were about 50 people that passed away over the last few days because of just in this country, not to mention the rest of the planet, because of the severe weather. And of course, one of the worst was in New York, Buffalo specifically. They got multiple feet of snow in a very short amount of time. 27 people, which interestingly enough, I just noticed it today is December 27th. At least 27 people in Buffalo, New York, perished directly because of the cold and the snow. Many of them were found, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, I'm just saying, many of them were found in their vehicles. So imagine just getting up one day, it snows, you live in New York, it snows all the time, I mean, whatever, and you're going out. Why? Because you have to get to work, because the boss says, no, you have to come in today, and so you get in your car, and you jump in there, and you think everything's going to be fine, and you drive a little ways, and next thing you know, you get stuck, and nobody comes for you. I saw one thing, a man and his wife, they have found multiple people literally frozen to death in their abandoned vehicles, some of them on main roads. What am I saying? I'm saying these are real to some people, okay? People's moms and dads, husbands and wives. Imagine someone close to you having this happen. So we are people who believe in prayer. We don't just say, hey, my thoughts and my prayers are with you, as some kind of a worn out cliche. We really do believe in prayer. So now we're asking the Lord God, help these people that have gone through this stuff, help their families, provide for their needs. And I also want to put in a quick word for preparation. Okay? So if you don't prepare, a lack of preparation, you're going to be scared when stuff happens. So I think one of the things that the Lord is trying to get across to humanity is that more and more difficult things are going to be happening, and you must not have the old mindset about things. You must develop a new mindset. Okay, I really do need to put flares and food and water in my car during the wintertime. Blankets and, maybe a little solar battery or something. I just be ready. If you're prepared, you won't be scared. If you get what I'm saying? So I just want to give a quick word for that. Please don't just go, it's no big deal, please don't say God will take care of me. Okay, the Lord, I believe the Lord is not, He doesn't like when we just put aside our own responsibility and put it all on Him. So anyway, so please pray for them. And I want to just talk about real quick about that mindset and about how our minds get changed. Moses in the book of Hebrews, I put the scripture, I'm not going to read it, but it came to me this morning. We're living in this culture, and I'm going to get to all these links and talk about them, but we're living in this culture. Everything is changing. Everything is changing. You can't really just hide and pretend they're not changing. That's not wise. It really isn't wise. But you can be affected by the mindset of your culture all around you and not even know you are. Moses was born with a fantastic destiny, but because of what Satan did through Pharaoh, killed all the kids. That was the abortive measure of their day. They killed all the kids. The child was hidden by his parents, Moses' parents. He was found by the daughter of Pharaoh. He was raised in the culture of the day. Now, as he began to awaken to the fact that there's something more, he began to understand he was a Hebrew, understand that he had destiny, and as he was grappling with his destiny, you are listening to me, as he was grappling with his destiny, his eventual response to that conflict going on in his heart. A lot of you are conflicted right now because we're getting all this stuff that's happening in the world, and you're like, who am I? What's my role? What am I supposed to do? I'm not panicked. I'm not panicked, whatever. Moses' response was one of the culture. I don't know if you thought of this, but he actually rose up and killed a man. He saw two people fighting. He began to see himself as someone of importance, and he actually responded in the way that he was raised in his culture, which was one of using force and violence. And that did not work well for him, okay? And so if darkness, you can't fight darkness with dark. I say all this because the stuff that we're about to talk about, some of it's some pretty dark stuff. Okay, and obviously we're not supposed to panic and freak out. Jesus, when he talked about the things that were going to happen before his return, which I believe is coming soon, he said, fear not. I mean, he just over and over, I tell you these things so that you won't be afraid. Okay, so, but the other thing is how do we live this out? Moses was actually put on the backside of the desert for 40 years, not to be punished, but in order, think about this, to change his mindset from the culture of his day to God's mindset. Okay? Your mindset about the things I'm about to read to you is imperative. If you do not have God. He says, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. If you don't have God's mindset about these things, you, like Moses, he had destiny. He was ordained of God. Everything was, his heart was awakening, and all this stuff. But when it came time to respond to the oppression of his people, what did he do? He responded more according to the culture of his day, which was one of force and violence. He rose up and killed a man than he did later on. So 40 years in the desert, what happened? He had a big mindset change. Some of you have been in the desert for a while, and I want you to consider that maybe God is trying to change your mind. When Moses did finally come back, okay, he wasn't disqualified. He did what he was called to do. He came back and he thought differently. So my hope through this program is that you will learn to think differently about the things that are going on around you. I don't mean being passive. I don't mean, but certainly not the culture. Certainly not the way the culture views these things. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. Okay, first one is the blizzard that's paralyzed the nation again. My big thing there is pray for people. 27 people in New York, about 50 nationwide. This was a bigger storm than most people realize. I saw one or two forecasters that got really kind of crazy about it, said this is going to be bad, and it's really easy to hear those things and kind of push them aside. It turned out to be that way. And I want to say I'm going to give a prediction myself that I think I heard from the Lord, that this is not the only one. I think there might be more, and sometimes these things that happen are to prepare us for the next thing. So be wise. All right, next link is entitled, We're About to Change Your Food. Now, I want to give a disclaimer for every one of these informational links that I give you. I am not responsible, for two things, for their accuracy, or their, no, I don't want to say actually, I'm going to say their language, okay? Sometimes people get it partly right, they get it mostly right, they get it all together right. The two things that I know that bother me is when people use coarse and foul language. I don't believe that's smart to do in a natural or a spiritual sense. And the other thing is the advertising. And some of you know what I'm talking about. You watch these links, and some of the advertisement on some of this is just like, blah. You just want to make you throw up. So I'm not responsible, okay? I can't be selective enough to eliminate. I am some. I mean, there's some stuff I just won't even do. But anyway, this first one is the first two of these after the blizzard are of extreme. Actually, I try to pick the ones that are all important, but I kind of put at the top of the list the ones that I feel most are. What the World Economic Forum is doing to change the planet's way of eating, their statement, and again, I can't possibly remember everything, so you have to watch a link. And I want to say also, these links, many of them are short. There's some of them that are long, and you get to choose, okay? But even if it's long, don't let that turn you off when you go to look at it. Watch the first 10 minutes. Oftentimes, within the first 15 minutes or so, you get the basic gist of what they're saying, although a lot of it is good. Anyway, so even if it's long, take the time to watch a few minutes. So the first one is Glenn Beck, and he's talking about the World Economic Forum and how they have made a statement that they're going to change the way we produce and consume our food. From seed to fork is how they say it. Now again, these things are not I feel like we're finally getting a little bit of an edge over the whole conspiracy theory thing, which was a phrase that didn't exist not that many years ago. A few decades ago, that phrase was actually invented by, I'm not going to say who it was, you can look it up, but because then I'll probably get blocked. But it was actually invented by a governmental institution to bring disrepute upon theories that may or may not have been true. So this idea of the conspiracy theory, I feel like we're getting past this a little bit. I think one of the reasons that God has given us the internet, and he gave it, the enemy did not invent anything. He has not invented anything. He only corrupts. these issues, the ability to, starting with radio waves and television and the stuff that goes on in the atmosphere, DNA, all this stuff that's being uncovered as time goes on. These are not things Satan created. They're things God put in the creation of the world, and most of them have been hidden for many, many years. And as they're coming out, remember this. There's always a benefit to them, and there's always something bad. And sometimes the greater the capacity for good, the greater the capacity for evil. So we're living in the information age, right? Well, is that all the devil? No, absolutely not the devil. God created this. God enabled mankind to be able to have this. I watched a program yesterday, Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was, I believe, a man that was gifted by God to see things scientifically and technologically in the future that almost no one saw. He was like 50, 60, 70 years ahead of his time, maybe more. Anyway, but he was talking about this ability to communicate globally, wirelessly across the world. We take this stuff so for granted. We get on the phone. We have more technology in our phones today than the first moon shuttle or moon rocket or whatever you call it. It's amazing, and we take it for granted because it's with us everywhere. We don't think about it. We don't think about how I could, if I had to explain to you how some of this technology, I'm talking simple stuff like my phone that I'm looking into right now, or I'm not even that great on electricity, but if I had to save my life to explain it, I'd be a dead man. You get what I'm saying? We take it for granted, but God has put it in the atmosphere for a reason. So the information that we get is so important. And one of these is about they have a plan in motion. Again, please don't think it's a theory. It's not a theory. Somewhere along the line in the last half a dozen years or so, these guys started saying, okay, it's time to start telling people what we're doing. You actually, and I believe, you say, well, how did they know when to do that? Because it was hidden for many years, and hence the theory part of the conspiracy. A conspiracy is not necessarily a theory. All right, anyway, I won't go down that road. But what signaled these super elite, powerful people to go ahead and start releasing this information that they had kept hidden for decades? Well, I believe, and I know some of you don't agree, it's okay, I believe that these are literal demonic spirits. A lot of these guys believe in, transhuman beings. They believe in ascended masters. They believe in, the wisdom of aliens. I mean, these guys, they really do believe this, not all of them. And some of them are just locked into a global mindset that the only way the planet can survive is to be global. That's it. They have sold out lock, stock, and barrel to this idea. And some of the stuff we're going to talk about here, like food processing, digital currency, digital IDs, all of this, has to do with global governance. It has to do with global food production. All of this is about this same mindset that we have to be a singular body as a planet, which kind of sounds good on the outset, but when you read the words of Jesus, you find out that it's actually something the enemy himself is provoking and trying to accomplish. So you, friend, are living right in the middle of it, for sure. And so, yeah, these guys are being inspired by things that I think they don't even understand. All right, so the first one is about changing your food. And again, these are in process as we speak today. One of the things they talk about is, I believe, the Netherlands and a couple different countries. I can't remember all the facts. That's why you have the video, where they have tried to implement this in some countries and come out and said, yeah, you're going to watch and you're going to see how this is going to work in the whole planet. And the exact opposite happened. Starvation. They illegalized fertilizer. They said, we're going to eat bugs. We're going to do all this crazy stuff in the name of global sustainability. I remember when the whole warming, if you question anything about the rhetoric concerning the climate, you're a climate denier. If you question any kind of election results, see, all you got to do is just cast someone in a label in a bad light and everybody shuts their brain off. Why? Because just like when you're in grade school and you don't want to be the unpopular kid, that thing seems like it lasts for some people until the day they die. God forbid that you should be the one that stands up and says, the king has no clothes. That's what the moral of that story is, right? If you've ever heard that story before, everybody just goes along with it because they don't want to be the one that is mocked or thought bad. You're the unpopular kid in school, and so on and so on. So anyway, they have a plan in motion to literally take away your right to create these things that are happening with the farmers and the stuff that's happening there. The stuff that's happening in these food production facilities, it's all the same thing. Okay? Watch it, and you're going to be amazed at that one. Okay? The whole climate thing. The whole climate thing is really about this. There are a lot of, I know, and some people say, Jim, you're off your rocker. No, I'm actually not. And one day you'll see it, that it's true. Not every single thing that someone is suspicious of is necessarily legitimate, but there's a lot of legitimate that's coming up. Second thing, digital IDs. Now, we've been moving towards a digital identification system for many, many years. Again, it's been happening. People in government know about it. People who are technological savvy know about it. It's just that, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of you Christians, we don't pay attention to that stuff. We're in church and we're worshiping Jesus, and it's great, and it's all about me, and I'm not trying to sound negative, I'm really not, but we have not allowed ourselves to engage in some of this stuff. So anyway, this thing about digital identification, this one you really need to watch. Now, this one is done by a man who sounds like a believer, I'm not really sure, but it is a bit technical, okay? He's going to throw out abbreviations and acronyms for stuff that lose me, and I feel like I'm fairly locked in. So don't let that dissuade you. This one is a long one, and you'll get the gist of it probably 15, 20 minutes in. Some of you will want to watch the whole thing, but it is stunning how close we are to physical identification going away. You get what I'm saying? You will not have a license. You will not have these things. You will have basically a digital identification that will contain, and this, again, this is not space age, Terminator, crazy. This is actually happening and being launched in certain places right now. China, one of those places, they have a digital identification system, and so they're going to change your money. They're going to change your money, and they're going to put all your identification in one central place. So your medical records, anything that has to do with any kind of legal stuff, Do you realize that nothing you put on the internet can ever go away? Okay, nothing. You erase it and you think it's gone. It's not gone. Okay, it is stored somewhere. I guarantee it. That's not a theory. That's an actual fact. There's a place where, I think it's in Switzerland, where all this information is being stored. Plus, it's being stored in the U.S. government, different governments. You've heard of TikTok, China. Listen, this is all not just about Big Brother surveilling you, although that is true. There's no way you can have a global system unless you can keep track of everyone. Period. That's how it has to work. We've always wondered, how is every man going to buy and sell or not buy and sell, and one world religion and one world government? How's that going to work when you've got people living off in the Amazon? It's going to move to this, to where you don't get to buy gas or go to the movie or go to the grocery store. Okay, you can't even go to court if you get some kind of a fine. It's all going to be about that. Somebody says, is that the mark of the beast? I don't know. I don't know. The jury's out with me on that. But I do know this. Technologically speaking, this is what we're moving to. And the reasonable end result of that will be that this digital system, identification system, and again, this is not something that's going to happen in the future. It's actually happening right now. If you watch a video, and it's just one of many videos that are out there, what I'm saying again is these guys are not trying to hide this anymore. They actually need the majority of people to go ahead and get on board. And what's crazy to me is that people will. They'll get on board with this even though they see and even though they know that it's been predicted that this is something that's going to actually lead to the coming of a man called the man of sin, a global a governance system with a global man at the head of it, yeah, they'll do it anyway. Okay, anyway, so they're going to change your money. It's already happening. Watch that one. Next one. I title this one Sane Man Among Us. So, again, practically speaking, I really, and I know we say this, and I know we say we do it, but I'm guilty. I don't pray. The Bible actually commands us to pray for those in leadership, and I don't do it very often. Frankly, I don't. I tend to pray for the guys I like more. I'm just telling you the truth, and it's not right. It's not right. We're supposed to pray for Nero, or we're supposed to pray for your favorite, Ronald Reagan. It doesn't matter. We're supposed to pray, and it tells us why we're supposed to pray for people in leadership. It actually, Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, penned these words. Those of you who think he's not supposed to have anything involved with this, the Holy Spirit, the God of the universe, penned these words. Pray for all those who are in authority, kings, and so on, that you may lead a quiet and peaceable life. God actually wants people to lead a quiet and peaceable, not an oppressed life, not a life like in Crane where bombs and shell, not a warfare life, not a woke life, not a crazy where you have to think like we think and speak like we speak. No. That's not the will of the Lord. It never has been and never will be. Okay, God is a God of freedom, right? And that is reflected in society, or his intention, it is that it's reflected in society. That's why he said you pray for those leaders so that it might happen. All right, so this is Rand Paul. Some of you know Rand Paul. I put a couple guys down here because I think it's important that you not only know who these people are, but that you speak their name to heaven. And I'm not saying they're saved or not saved. I don't know. I don't really even care. What I care about is that they are, I do care. I want, God wants all men to be saved, all human beings to be saved. So it's not what I mean. But what I mean by that is that in their position, in their status of life, in their assignment, which is to try to protect the systems that govern your life to some degree from going completely demonic. These guys are standing up for truth and transparency. One of them is Rand Paul. And Rand gets up and he talks about, you've probably maybe heard this if you watch the news at all, there was something that was pushed through the legislative system on, I believe it was December 24th. This is what they do. Okay? I am not against government. I am against corrupt government. God is against corrupt government. You better mark it down that he is, honey, because he is. I guarantee you he is. He's not just like, oh, let them eat cake. Whatever happens, happens. No. Come on, you know that's not God, right? So these guys are setting up, and they push through this called the omnibus, whatever. 4,000 pages. So they had like a year to get it ready. They wait until December 24th, throw it out in the middle of the night, or voted on, I think at like 1:30 in the morning. Again, you can look at all the details. But basically, they did this for the very reason that they didn't want, they make this massive that nobody can read, and then they put it at a time when everybody is ready to hop on their plane and go home, okay? And they push the thing through, and it includes, really, some of it's good. And usually, here's what happened. They'll put a whole bunch of money in for one side of the aisle and a whole bunch of money in for the other side of the aisle. So the right and the left, the right goes, hey, well, there's something in there for us. Let's just pass it. By the way, I got to get home. There's fruitcake waiting for me at home. It is evil to do this. Okay? It's evil. Woe unto them that pass unrighteous legislation. The Bible says that. God, your God, said that. And so they wait, they make it bigger than anybody can see, and then they make it, to where you almost have to vote for it. And part of it, there's one thing I have here where there is quite a few, because see, now we're not millions of dollars, we're billions and trillions. It's a $1.7 trillion bill for, budget, whatever. 1,700 different things. Yeah, one of them is to enhance. You'll have to watch this one. It's one of these in here. I'll mention it when I come to it. You're not going to believe this, but here it is. It is to enhance. It's just one of the many, many things in this omnibus bill. To help the cause of abortion so that biodiversity will be more balanced. Some of these theories and this woke agenda is insanity. Okay, so we want a biodiversity that is balanced. This ethnicity and this ethnicity and this and this. So we're going to actually promote the right to abort in order to, if you didn't see this, you wouldn't believe it. It's just crazy. I remember last year, and I'll say this real quickly, last year, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, some insane person in the Oregon State Legislation tried to pass a bill that would make the slaughtering of animals that are raised for food, chickens and beef and pigs, animal abuse. Literally, they would make it animal abuse. And this is all for meat is murder, we don't eat anything with a face, blah, blah, blah. It didn't pass, but it could have, okay? All right, so pray for Rand Paul and watch that. That one is really good. And that was a short one, too. Some of you might have seen this one really quickly. A woman in the UK was arrested for silently praying. If you don't think there are demonic forces behind some of these issues, you need to wake up. Okay, you need to realize. So here's a woman. Again, watch the video, read the story. Here's a woman who is standing. Laws have been passed that there's a certain perimeter. This is in the United Kingdom, in Britain, where you cannot stand so close to an abortion facility. Okay? You can't stand and protest or pray or anything like that. Well, this woman is just standing there praying in her head. Okay? And the bobbies come up, the policeman, and ask her if she's praying. She's just standing there. And I know it's, again, these things are getting more and more unbelievable. They literally asked her if she was praying in her head, and then they arrested her for it. See, maybe you are excited about living in North Korea. I am not. I don't believe the gospel flourishes in oppressive situations like that. And God is not a God that oppresses people. The enemy is. Okay? So, look at that one. Pray about that. So this one is a little bit different. I entitled this Putin's Satan 2. How many know that Putin has developed a nuclear missile that, as far as we know, is the most powerful one on the earth? I mean, the government knows stuff I don't know by a long shot. But he calls it the Satan, your enemy, right? The devil. Okay. What does it take for a man to call a weapon after the devil's name? I'm just saying. And it's Satan 2 because there's a Satan 1. Now, this link is Fox News, and they really, I didn't have time to change this. They only briefly mentioned the missile, but it gives a pretty clear, short explanation of why the war in Ukraine, did you know it's still happening, right? It can never be won. And so, Putin, I was going to take this one off, but then just this morning as I'm opening up the news, I saw where he has delivered an ultimatum. This is definitely worth praying. I know people in Ukraine. You know people in Russia, Ukraine. Okay, these are real human beings, right? This is what I'm always trying to pull you back to. You got to remember that these are real people. These are not just issues, they're people. And if they were your people, I promise you, you would feel different about the issue. And that's why I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that God is concerned about the issue, because he's concerned about the people that the issue directly affects. Do you get that? So please don't diminish all these things to just, philosophical issues. They're always about human beings that Jesus loves, that he died for, and that he cares about people like you and I, and so on. So you might want to watch that one. The next one is another man I think you ought to pray for. He's a representative from Texas, or maybe a congressman. His name is Chip Roy. Now, Chip's a bulldog. Chip's a bull in a china closet. He's he's one of these guys in the system that if I would love to sit down and have a conversation with. Because here's the deal. These guys know way more than you know. Way more than you know. I have just enough information to know that the crazy is, what do they call that when they have a number? They have like 10 and then they have an X up in it. I'm not good at math. 10 to the 10th power, something like that. The crazy is to the 10th. It's, you don't really understand. And they won't talk about it most of the time. Okay? Because they will lose their ability to be where they're at and do what they're doing. They can only shed so much light. Okay? Chip Roy is one of those guys that rides the edge. And in this little, you're going to want to watch this. It's a short one. But he gets so close to absolutely losing it and spilling the beans on some stuff. He looks at those guys around him and he basically says, you know what you're doing. And he doesn't say what they're doing, okay? He partly does, and he's talking about this omnibus thing. But he said, none of this stuff, you know, I get a kick out of this, and I'm kind of going off. I know I am here, but I'm going to do it anyway. I only have one life to live. You know, part of this stuff, you know, when people say, these guys are so stupid, they're idiots. Well, yes and no, okay? There's a difference between being ignorant and being foolish or stupid, okay? Stupid is what stupid does. Remember him, okay? There's a vast difference between being unintelligent or ignorant of facts and knowing the facts and doing the stupid thing even when you know them. I guarantee you, nearly everyone in the halls of governance, they know exactly what's going on. They have cast their lot into this worldview that needs to go this way or this worldview that needs to go this way. We tend to label those. We call them right and left. We call them liberal and conservative. You know, labels are labels. They don't define everyone perfectly. But the idea is, here's a mindset that says we're progressive, we're liberal, we're going to be woke, we're going to... they're really, the primary issue of one side is globalism. That's the primary issue. Mark it down. And the end justifies the means. We have to stay in power so that we can make this happen, because the world will not survive unless this happens. That's one mindset. The other mindset is, no, we need to do what's right, not just what we think is expedient. Okay, the world's not going to become so populated that we need to wipe a bunch of people out to keep it, you know, or lock everybody down or make 15-minute cities that if you go out of, you get arrested. All the crazy, okay? So, Chip Roy is one of these guys who I'm convinced knows. Anyway, you're going to want to watch him. He's basically standing up, and he does. I think he's like a Texas Longhorn. But again, my big thing is that you pray for them. All right. And then I talked about the omnibus. Oh, you know what? That link did not get down there. Okay, so you're going to have to look that one up on your own. I want to give you something from the Oregon Catalyst for the state of Oregon. Many of you are in Oregon. So this link is from OregonCatalyst.com. That might be a private Facebook page. You may have to say, yeah, I want to be on that to watch it. I recommend that you do. A lot of good stuff is on there. Many of you probably don't know that two, either cities or counties, I think it's cities. I think 2 cities in Oregon. You're not going to believe this. Of course you are going to believe it, but yeah. 2 cities in Oregon voted to ban natural gas in new homes as of 2024. Now, let me repeat that. If you don't think this whole, save the planet thing has a demonic agenda, oh my gosh, it's time for you to wake up. I know most of you guys are awake. Okay. Can I just say this? I want to be really clear about this agenda about climate and planet and all. Can I just say something about my heart on this real quick? I believe this is my Father's world. My friend John Carney says it's super arrogant to think that God doesn't know how to, steward and control the earth. But remember that, and I believe that. I believe that, God is in control. I get that. However, if you pollute a river by pumping sewage into it, you have disregarded your stewardship of that river. God doesn't give us the planet to just do whatever the heck we want with it. Okay, think of the planet. Let's say I'm sitting here on a couple acres with my family. We got a couple acres. We're to steward this land. This land has been given to us. Yes, we had to, the money went to pay for it and all that, but we steward this property, just as you do yours. Okay. So have you ever heard the phrase, drive it like it's rented or drive it like it's stolen? You know what that means? That basically means I don't have any responsibility, so I'm going to do whatever I want with it. That is not God. Okay? We do have a responsibility, but anything can be taken to crazy. You get what I'm saying? So we're going to shut people down. I've read things that they put through the UN where they wanted to put people on bicycles that had little generators on them to generate electricity, limit the amount they can. I mean, it just is insane what people come up with. So I just wanted to say, I do believe in stewardship. Okay, I don't believe you ought to just pollute everything. And I've been to places where the pollution is so bad you can't hardly breathe. So there are real issues. I'm not saying there's not. But when we politicize them, you take one side that says this is our issue, right? Because this will help us. They go crazy with it. And then that compels the other side to go crazy as well. So God give us some balance, people. All right. 2 cities in the state of Oregon have passed a bill that says by 2024 I want you to hear this clearly, will no longer allow Northwest Natural Gas or any other gas company to install pipes. They won't even let them put the pipes in from the road, wherever the gas line is, to new construction. New construction will no longer be able, if they have their way, to have a natural gas piped into them. Why? Why? To save the planet. It's all about reducing your carbon footprint. Blah, 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 blah. All right. One of the publications that I really have learned to appreciate is Breaking Christian News. It is from the Elijah List. Elijah List does more in the lines of the prophetic and so on. But this is the news arm of Steve Schultz and Elijah List. I've loved their stuff for many, many years. And the Christian News, I feel like they do a really good job. And they'll put out stuff that a lot of people won't. So the link that I put, I entitled this one Overall Quick Catch Up. A lot of good news they've got on there. And then they've got a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff that I'm mentioning here is referred to them from other agencies. So, each one of these issues, there's multiple information news agencies. You call them news agency. I call them information agencies because they're not all, I don't like to associate it with classical news because they're corrupt. But they have a lot of good stuff. So this one, if you just want to kind of have a quick overview, that's a really good one. Fentanyl. Let's talk about fentanyl. I got about 5-10 minutes left here. Fentanyl is one of, if not the most deadly drugs that have ever been hatched from the pits of hell and put upon this and other nations. I think it is safe for me to say that the fentanyl crisis is completely out of control. It is a fact that our government at times has actually been involved in the drug trade. This is an indisputable fact. Okay. I have no desire to go down that rabbit hole and tell you about it, but it's absolutely known now. They've actually made movies about it, whatever. So it's not, again, it's like, oh, how can that be? No, it just is. You can't live in la la land. Okay. What's happening right now? Now, there are some, let's see, I think I've got 2 of them. Yeah, so fentanyl, I've got this one, and then the one following it where it talks about what's happening at the border. I beg you to watch those. I beg you to watch those. The amount of fentanyl that are lethal doses, each pill basically being a lethal dose. You pop the pill, you're dead, okay? At least that's my understanding. They say the amount of lethal fentanyl that they have seized at the border, I think, I don't want to get my numbers mixed up, in the last 6 months or whatever, exceeds, okay, listen to me now, it exceeds the population of the country. Okay, just let me say that one more time so it gets into your head. The amount of lethal doses, it was like 361 million or something like that, exceeds, there are more lethal doses that they've found. This is not including the ones that have gotten through. This is the ones that they have seized and found and taken out of circulation. Okay? God only knows how much more that they missed because it's everywhere. 300, I'm just going to say 361, I might be wrong, forgive me. 361 lethal doses, and there's only 330 some million people. There are more deadly doses that have come in across our southern border than there are people in this country. If that doesn't scream national crisis to you, I don't think there's anything left to jar us awake. My own nephew was taken out of this world because of fentanyl. And sometimes it is sad to say, and again, I'm not trying to be critical, but it is sad to say that we are not moved by something until it moves us personally. Children who have gotten it under the disguise of candy. Kids, children at school who it's been sold to and died. I think the number is somewhere over 100,000 people in the last however many months. Dead. Gone into eternity. For those of you who are Christians, that ought to matter to you. That they have gone into eternity. And who knows what happens if a person dies in their sin. I mean, I don't even want to go down that road today. You know, Jesus talked about, he says, if you don't believe in me, you're going to die in your sin. Well, the concept of that statement was not like, it's going to be okay anyway. You don't want to die in your sin. I mean, that's kind of a duh. That's kind of a no-brainer. Anyway, I'm not saying they all did. I'm just saying this is a really, really big deal. Okay? Now, that's the first one, fentanyl out of control. The second one is, I have a title, it Numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, numbers straight from the DEA and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, excuse me. So, why did I put that in the link? Why did I put that in the title? Because there is something in many people's mind that unless it comes through a legitimate source, i.e. the government, it's amazing that we still think this way, because the government is more known for reducing numbers, hiding things, let's not panic the population, blah, blah, blah. The end justifies the means. They're more accustomed to doing that than they are giving accurate information, and that's just the truth. Again, I'm not a government hater. I'm a corruption hater, okay? And that is just the truth. Not in every case, not with every person, you get it. So when you see them, who are not always known for truth and transparency, I'm talking about two government agencies coming out and saying, here's the numbers of people that have come illegally into the country. And I'm not going to varnish those words, come up with another word, okay? There are two crises that are happening at the border right now. The crisis of us losing our ability to sovereignly govern the nation. And that is happening right now. And I have a very bad feeling about what could happen because we have millions coming across the border. I do not have a good feeling about that. That's one crisis. The other crisis is the people who are coming. I actually don't blame them as much as I blame our own government. It is our government that has given an unspoken invitation. I even saw one newscaster the other day try to blame people like myself and other, people that are speaking up. They try to blame Governor Abbott. You're the one that's inviting him by saying that there's open border. That's not just like the devil. That's what they call gaslighting. I am doing something bad and making you feel like you're the one that's doing something bad. Okay. They give the numbers. You need to know what they are. Okay. But the second crisis, there's a crisis for this country that's happening right now that can actually equate to human beings dying. And then there are the people that are coming. They're dying. What this government is doing to immigrants from other countries is horrendous. I'm going to say that boldly. If they take my head, I'm going to say it anyway. What this government is doing to immigrants from other country is horrendous. People are dying. They know it's happening. Again, you'll see some of the news agencies go, oh, these people are so dumb. They have no idea what's happening. Oh, please don't be so naive. They know exactly what's happening. They are committed to the plan of letting people in. They could stop it in a moment. We had a former president. What did he do? He came in and he stopped it. He said, nope, we're done. Okay? I don't want to sound arrogant because I would never want to be the president. But I have a 3-word solution. Shut it down. When there's a crisis and people are dying, you shut it down. Well, people couldn't go to work. You know what? Okay. So, well, you haven't taken all the things into consideration. Friend, boy, what's the sum total? I'm not just trying to rant, but these are truths. I am so tired of people not telling the truth. You know, when we live in darkness, bad things happen. And Jesus is the light, and he is committed to light, and he is bringing light into the world. And it's happening incrementally. It's happening through people like you and I who will refuse to be shut up. Okay? It's happening through people in government. It's happening through social media. It's happening through grandmas and grandpas. All right. So there you go. Watch that one. Almost done. So the link from the usmilitary.com, I really like these guys. So all of these things, again, working together. There is coming, actually being implemented. Again, I'm not telling you stuff that we think might happen 20 years down the road, 10 years down the road. They're happening now. A carbon emissions tax. You probably heard it talked about before. Okay, you're going to get taxed on how much you drive your car. Because your car is exhausting, it is releasing carbon emissions. Okay? Release your carbon footprint. Your carbon footprint is what you leave behind. Think of going camping, and your footprint that you leave behind is your gum wrappers and your bottles of whatever, and your dirt and your toilet paper. That's your footprint, okay? What you left behind. Your carbon footprint is what you use up in energy. That is killing the world. That's destroying us all, and we're all going to die in the next 2-3 years. Who's that girl that freaked out? How dare you? That. Yes, I know I get sarcastic sometimes. I'm sorry. I'm working on that. So this is being implemented today. Not to you. Watch a video where they're beginning to tax people. They'll start with industries, they'll go to businesses, big corporations, then the smaller businesses, then the households, and then individuals. Going to tax you for your carbon. Wood stoves put out a carbon emission, as far as I know. I think I'm right about it. Your electricity, the amount of electricity you use. Your vehicle. Okay? There are going to be cities that ban cars. There are going to be cities that say the only way you can get around, okay, is riding a bike. It is coming. Okay. All right. Watch that one. So that's already happening. And then the very last one I put on here was Elon Musk. Now, he's everybody's favorite. Love to love him, love to hate him, whatever. In the news media right now. So the link that I put on there, it's a really short one. It's Elon Musk, and he's on there, and he's, I keep losing this here. He's talking about theories that are no longer theories, okay? I don't think he uses the word conspiracy. Maybe he does. But he's talking about it with a couple other guys. Again, this is one, you know, they use some bad language. I know people think I'm prudish and old-fashioned for not using bad language. But again, my standard is the Word of God, the eternal Word that will never go away. I believe in the Bible. I believe what Jesus said. Every word that you speak, you're going to have it give an account for. So I don't believe in just being a foul-mouthed person. And they are foul-mouthed on this in a couple areas. Okay, but anyway, so they're asking Elon, they're saying, you know, what's, you know, all this stuff that's coming out, you know, and all this crazy. And he talks about it. He says, he poses a hypothetical kind of humorous question. Is there any conspiracy theory about Twitter that has proven or that is not proven to be true? He says every theory, or I think he says just about every theory that anybody had that was called conspiracy is now actually proven to be true. Can I just end you with this? There are many of them. Okay? Maybe not lizard people. Anybody know that one? Lizard people. There's some people, and I say this respectfully, but there's some people that go so crazy, they wind up opening up their brain to everything. Okay, flat earth theories, you know, reptilian people, you know, listen. You be careful that you don't let your mind go crazy. If you don't have discernment, you will open up your, you know, have such an open mind, as one man said, don't be so open-minded your brains fall out. Look at everything with a grain of salt, verify, so on and so on and so on. All right. Amen. God bless you guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for listening today. Again, remember, we're having a second YouTube channel called Justice for America. Actually, 5 words. Look it up. Jim Moore, Justice for America. We're starting from scratch. We have 1 subscriber, and that's me. Okay? I need your help. I'm asking you for your help to go on that. And if you want to watch this program or send it, cut and paste the link to a friend, you're going to be able to find it on that channel. So you want to do it. All right. God bless you. Keep in prayer. Keep in love. Love each other. Love your neighbor. Love Jesus. And be ready no matter what happens. God bless you. Give yourself permission. Have a great day. Bye-bye.